Welcome back to Inside the Issues, where we are talking about the state of recycling here in California. So let's say you go to the store or your local vending machine at work and you buy a drink like this one. Now, you may or may not know this, but you're paying a few cents more just for this bottle. You drink the drink, and then what happens? Well, if you do not live near a recycling center, you're supposed to be able to take this bottle into one of nearly 3,800 stores throughout California and get your nickel back. But that is often not what actually happens. Check out what did happen at a local Rite Aid in Calabasas.
Hi.
Hello.
I want to know if I can redeem these bottles here.
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
I can't get the nickel back for each one of these?
I've never done it and never seen it done.
Do you have a manager?
Well, I am the
You
assistant.
are? Oh.
The woman in that video is Liza Tucker of the group Consumer Watchdog, and she spent 3 months looking into this issue and joins me now in studio. Welcome to Inside the Issue.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get to your audit and what you did, which is fascinating, I just want to remind viewers how all of this is supposed to be working, right? So I mentioned you buy this, you pay your bottle deposit. What's supposed to happen in an ideal world?
Well, in an ideal world, you have enough of these buyback centers that are located either right on the premises of a major supermarket in your convenience zone or somewhere very close by within a half a mile, and you go and you take your bottles and cans and you get your CRV back, your redemption value, your California redemption value back.
And I feel like a lot of us, I think hopefully viewers will now look and every time they get a drink say like, oh, I see that little CRV,
right.
And it's not just here. Remind us which beverages. This applies to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it applies to soda and fruit juice. It applies to wine coolers, but not wine.
So weird.
Yes, well, there are lobbies that are very powerful that get themselves exclusions. Wine is one of them, and hard liquor is another one of them.
Yeah, and milk and infant formula,
and
right?
infant formula and medical drinks and things like that. Yeah, they're also excluded.
Yeah, but still plenty
bottled waters, all that stuff's included.
Yeah, so there's plenty of money to be made here.
Yeah.
But as you experienced, you went to a bunch of stores in this audit, and you did what we just saw there. You went to LA, Pasadena, Alhambra, Pacific Palisades, Calabasas.
Right.
And these are drugstores, gas
drugstores, convenience stores. I did, 7-Elevens and Rite Aids and Walgreens, and I did Vons and Albertsons and Pavilions, and I did a Ralph's, or more than one Ralph's. I did, a number of different, everything from major to mid-sized, and then also mom and pop shops. So the way the law works is that theoretically you're supposed to have a redemption center available to you in each of 4,000 convenience zones. But the fact of the matter is that we don't, and more have been closing. And under the law, stores are supposed to step up in zones where there is no center to take back your bottles and cans and take it back themselves in store.
Yeah.
But what the survey showed was really 2/3 are just not interested in doing that. And extrapolating to the rest of the state, it's pretty frightening because, we have roughly 3,800 stores that are supposed to be taking back.
Yeah.
And so extrapolating from my findings, as many as, 2/3 could be denying this service to consumers who don't even know to ask about it.
Yeah, so you did have a couple of experiences where you brought in your ginger beer bottles and you got your money back, everything was okie dokie, but what was amazing to me is that not only were you going to places where there said, no, we can, or no, we don't, but that there were signs posted out front, clearly saying this is a place where you can get your CRV deposit. I want to go back to that Rite Aid store that we showed viewers earlier, and what happens, you're there, we heard that the manager's like, yeah, I don't know anything about this. He calls in another employee, and eventually they wind up making a call up the corporate ladder.
Correct.
Let's take a look.
Hey, George, I don't mean to bother you, but I have a customer here. She wants to recycle her bottles here because we have the picture up in the window saying we recycle. To where? Ralph's. Okay.
Ralph's, okay, so explain to me, what was the upshot of all of this? What did you find out?
Well, the upshot of all of this was that, well, first of all, they had a sign and they were supposed to take what I was offering. And I think, indeed, in fact, another reporter the next day tried and they took the stuff back immediately. So they had gotten some pushback from corporate. So for one thing, what I found was, my impression was that corporate headquarters do not want to train their personnel to take this stuff back. They know what the law is in California, but they don't want to train their personnel to actually follow the law.
Why?
Because they figure they won't get caught by the regulator, CalRecycle, and they're right. Because CalRecycle has some limited resources and it's not very good at cracking down on these stores, and so they figure the worst that happens is if they get caught, turning away bottles, it's just a $100 fine.
Yeah.
And so they would rather just tell the state, oh yeah, we're signed up, we do this, put up the sign or even not put up the sign and then just not do it and figure nobody will ever report them. So the upshot of this was they still turned me away, and then they sent me to the Ralph's right next door. The Ralph's right next door had a huge sign saying as of March 15th they were no longer taking bottles and cans in store, and it turned out that the regulator had no clue, and it affected dozens of stores. Dozens, I think more than 145 stores or something are now no longer taking bottles back. Okay, so they will be paying a fee to the state. So the way it works is theoretically, stores are supposed to make a choice. Either they say, yes, we'll take back in store if there's no redemption center in that convenience zone, or they can sign up with CalRecycle to pay $100 a day fee, $36,500 a year. But only a couple hundred of them do that, and everybody else banks on the fact that nobody's going to notice.
But let's go back for a moment, because I know my poison of choice is kombucha, and I go to the store and I pay that extra 5 cents all the time. Where is that money going if it's not eventually coming back to me, if I couldn't go into one of these stores and get that money back?
Well, that money is going into a huge pot. And that's roughly $1.5 billion. Those nickels and dimes for the larger containers, 24 ounces or more, they really add up. So it comes out to like $1.5 billion last year, okay, that we all paid in those lines, okay? The upshot was that because we have such a catastrophe right now with the inaccessibility to return at these centers, and because the state literally keeps the list of those thousands of stores that are supposed to take your bottles back a secret, they don't publish it on their website the way they do recycling centers. You can't look it up. People are leaving more and more money on the table. And so last year, consumers did not redeem more than $300 million of the pot because they had no way to redeem it. And then on top of that, money is being skimmed and not given to the state by the distributors that they're supposed to hand over those deposits, and then it circulates through the system. At least $200 million was held back. That's like theft. And then there are subsidies that make no sense that also total millions and tens of millions of dollars that are going to these curbside and drop-off programs that honestly oughtn't to be.
Yeah, well, and we just have a few seconds left here, but I want to follow the money again. I put my kombucha bottles and all the rest of it in the blue bin, and every week there are folks who come by and they're digging through, and I've got to, I just have always assumed, well, I just assumed that if they're going to be going through my trash, they need it more than me.
Correct.
Are they getting, we just have a few seconds left here, but are they getting the money? Do they know how to work the
so-called gleaners and bulk collectors are actually redeeming the bottles and getting the money, but it's a fraction of what the curbside haulers are getting, and the curbside haulers have a very high contamination rate of all the materials they put in those bins. And if you separate out the materials like they do, say, glass in Oregon, you get a much cleaner stream. It's much more profitable. The products are high end, and then domestic manufacturers are interested in buying stuff that's not contaminated. They're pickier and pickier, just like China is.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, Liza Tucker. Thank you so much. And if you can find out more about it, if you search for Consumer Watchdog. Just ahead, California is nowhere near meeting its goals for recycling. Find out what legislators are doing to try and move that needle. That coming up when Inside the